Okay, so now it's Professor Shoemaker here. We're going to take a look at creating views. Views are extremely useful in databases, and in any kind of a real system, you wind up creating a great many views. As a matter of fact, in most of the systems we create in my consulting practice, there are more views in the database than there are tables. The purpose of a view is to store a SQL query, a select statement of some kind. Up to now, all of our select statements, all of our queries have been saved as text files just out on the computer file system someplace. But what we really want to do is store our views inside the database so that they're always there and we don't have to go hunt around for them on the file system, and they're handy. A view is just a select statement that's stored. So let's take a look at what we have here. First of all, I'm looking at the college database, and you're already familiar with the schema over here where we have the list of tables. What we're going to do is start putting stuff down in the views node here where we have a set of views. Now, here I have just an ordinary select statement, select star from student, order by last name, first name. One feature of MySQL you may not have noticed is, but if you hover over the lightning bolt up here, it says execute the selected portion of the script or everything, meaning the whole script file, if nothing is selected. So what I have done is just dragged and dropped and selected the select statement. I'm using the word select a lot here. And when I do that and I click on the lightning bolt, it doesn't run the whole script file. It just runs this one statement. So let's run it, and it gets what you'd expect it to get. Fields out of the student table, it's everything. Well, that could be a handy view that we might want to store because it does the ordering. So what I'm going to do instead of just selecting this is I'm going to run the whole file, and in particular I want to execute this statement, which says create or replace view students by last name. So I gave this thing a name, students by last name. So let's run it and see what happens. Well, initially nothing happens. If I open up the grid down here, it worked. I got all green, but nothing changed over here until I come up and refresh the tree view here. And now we can see that within the views I have a students by last name view. Now it sort of looks like a table in the sense that you can see the columns that it returns in the view, but it's not a table. All that was stored in the database is this text right here. So what is that? About 100 characters maybe of text. One thing that's true about views is if you have a very large database with maybe thousands of views, adding all those views does not make the database much bigger because all that's stored is the text. Just what you're looking at here that's selected. That's all that's stored. We just gave it a name and stuffed it over here inside the database. Now in order to use it, we need a select statement. So I'm going to paste this in from another window so you don't have to watch me type. So here we're using the view, select star from students by name. So I'm going to select that and click on it so I can just run it, and poof, I get the results of the view. So once you create a view, you can use it in a select statement just the way we've been using tables all along. A view is sort of a virtual table. All we're storing is this in the database. So when we use a select statement like this, what happens is the database manager, MySQL, will take the text of the view, compile it like a program, and execute it. And you get these results right here. The results of a view are alive only when you've run the view. This data here is never actually stored. So part of the beauty of running a view like this is it's always up to date. It's always the very most up to the moment view of the data. So we can store them and then use them like we could tables. As a matter of fact, if you look at this select statement, you can't tell by looking at it that we're actually running a view instead of running against a table. The only way we know it is if you knew this thing happened to be a view instead of a table over here. So since in a good normalized database design we wind up with a lot of information scattered around tables, the beauty of views is you can use a view to knit together the information and then store it as a sort of a virtual table in the database. Okay, so that's the basic intro to views. It's actually very simple. The only real complexity is in writing your select statement, and then you store it in the database, and it's always there to use later. In the next video, I'll show you how useful views are, because you can stack them in other select statements.